Welcome to the best debate in the universe. Every debate in the universe from the year 2019 to Punchboxing the Bean with over 4 million downloads. I'm your host, Maddox. With me is the Rear Admiral Tangents, Ron Babcock.
Happy New Year, Maddox.
And Deputy Moderators, Dreadmere and Kirk Wilcox.
Knock, knock, open up the door, it's real.
Welcome back to the show. Guys, welcome back. It's the new year, 2019, and we've got a big show this week because we're going to be debating 2019 predictions. So those are our predictions for 2019, and I brought in the predictions we had from last year to see how right we were or how wrong in some cases. Wrong, I think, in most cases. But joining us this week is our guests, Kirk Wilcox and Dreadmere, returning guests. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Hey.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Always good to have you guys. And a quick introduction for those who haven't heard you guys on before. Kirk, what would you say you do, your job?
I'm a comedian and I'm a satirist. KirkWilcox.com, CarnegieTimes.com. I'm also on YouTube. I try to put up videos weekly.
Yeah.
Although the holidays kind of put a dent in that schedule.
Right.
But I'm back. I just uploaded a new video last night.
Hey, very cool. Yeah. Guys, check out Kirk's stuff. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter because Kirk's really fucking funny. Yeah, like some of these tweets too, because I think they're still flying under the radar because you deserve a lot more likes and retweets than you're currently getting. But
yeah, a lot of people
happen.
do say that.
Yeah. And Dreadmere, how about you?
Yeah, I've been making content for the better part of 2018, and then for the last month or so during the holidays. I haven't really done that much. I've just been trying to find new places to work as well as make videos, reformatting a little bit. So,
yeah.
Yeah, 2019 should be exciting as far as my content goes.
Yeah.
What I've been focusing on.
And as always, Ron Babcock, the Rear Admiral of Tangents.
Oh, just doing the normal things, comedian as well.
Yeah.
Don't make as much content. I don't make as much content as these guys.
Maybe we should collab.
But I would love to content collab. You follow me, Hey Ron on Instagram, Ron Babcock on Twitter, and you know what I gotta do? Gotta make a new website because my website, which I previously made in iWeb in 2008, finally shit the bucket.
Oh no, what happened?
Yeah, it turns out like 2008 iWeb isn't built for the long haul.
No, no. There's a lot of those automatic code generating. Like in Microsoft Word, you can save your document as a web page, and it adds so much overhead in the code. You'll add like a meg or two of just garbage, like machine-generated code for basically a text document.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how those things work.
I love. But I used to have people be like, "Hey, I like your website. What'd you make it in? Was that like Squarespace? Was that Wix?" I'm like, "iWeb." From the 2008 iLife suite of apps.
Yeah, how embarrassing! Your guys' website looks outdated.
Yeah, I don't know what those words you were talking about means, but I don't know that you do need to make a website.
That's the thing is, I'm not really too.
I don't think websites should exist anymore.
Okay,
just apps.
Dreadmere?
Just apps with things.
You know what? I got... Trigger! You know what, Dreadmere? Welcome back to the show, because we got to talk about something. At the tail end of this show, I've been saving some voicemails of people calling in and blasting your ass. Yeah. I don't think we've had an ass blasted on this show as hard as they've been ass blasting you lately.
Yeah, I get that on a lot of shows.
Yeah. Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Okay, because these are going to be really fun. Because I feel like Dreadmere, like, there's a kernel of truth in everything he's saying, or at least like a kernel of
if you did have
logic.
A website, you should call it This Fucking Guy.
This fucking guy.
By the way, the URL is available.
Yeah. Okay, so the arguments that you make, I feel like sometimes are like a little bit freewheeling, and people latch on to the freewheeling nature of them, and then like, well, and maybe disagree because I feel like it's a wobbling top, and that's the type of.
I don't entirely remember what I said, but I'm sure it was true and right.
Yeah,
so,
well, you'll get a refresher about that.
Yeah.
But coming up at the tail end of the show, we got some voicemail, we've got a Babcock tip, we've got some quick news headlines, and if you guys want to leave a voicemail, the voicemail number is on our website, madcastmedia.com. Go to the best debate in the universe, click on any episode, and it's at the bottom of every episode. But we should get to the debates this week before we do that. Yeah, I want to hear everyone's buzzers. Here's mine. Kirk? Wrong! Dreadmere. And Ron. There it is. If you hear a buzzer from anyone during this debate or discussion, that means someone is disagreeing with someone else or just chiming in with an interjection. But Kirk, I'm going to start with you this week. What would you say your 2019 prediction is?
My prediction is that in 2019, Maddox will update his website less than 3 times.
Okay, you know what? Fuck you, Kirk. I'm gonna fucking update that shit three times next week just to prove you wrong.
It's a prediction, not a fact.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Look. You know what? These promotions and demotions can also happen. I'm going to put that out there. Both of you guys. Because you're a deputy moderator, Kirk. Dreadmere, you're a deputy moderator.
I forgot which one was.
Rear Admiral of Tangents.
Yeah.
You may be up for we'll see if you deserve.
I actually went last night. I'm like, I wonder how good this prediction is. And I was like, oh, you updated it with the Netflix rant recently. I got to check that out.
I've written 3 or 4 articles that I haven't even published yet.
That happens.
Yeah. I've written
By
so
articles,
much.
are you mispronouncing the word tweets?
Okay, Ron.
I like how you were reaching for that as I was talking.
I know.
With the sound, I didn't even finish the sentence, and you were already like buzzing me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. I was getting ready because I felt the snark. I felt the heat of your snark. You know, like when you run your hand above like a hot stove and you're just feeling it. I'm like, oh, that's a hot stove coming in. Someone in the chat room, Astukart, says, "Wasn't Dreadmere a moderator already?" You know what, Astukart? I think you might be correct.
Yeah.
Dreadmere,
What's going on at this studio?
You were a full moderator, but again, like I said. They're always up for promotions or demotions. Hey, Kirk, before we get to your real fucking prediction, because that better not be it, I do want to play the predictions we had from last year.
I'm interested in hearing what some of these are.
Yeah, these were from 2018. So last year, for 2018, we had on Rucka Ali and Jesse P.S. from Pod Awful. And here's Jesse's first prediction. Let's see what you guys think of this one. Listen to this.
In 2018, we'll have the first official arrests of people saying wrong think on social media in America.
Wow. That's
so.
Rucka had that sound effect. Yeah, what did you say,
Didn't
Kirk?
Count Dankula technically get sentenced this year for that?
Yeah. Well, he got like $800 fine or something.
Okay, so he didn't. Did he get arrested? No, he just got a fine.
Well,
I think he just got the fine, yeah.
He fought getting arrested and going to prison. They were trying to do that, but they ended up settling on a fine, which he's still fighting. I think. I don't know.
No, I think didn't that get overturned too? Like it was just like a big stupid like slap on the wrist thing. Yeah. But Jesse P.S. did post something not too long ago.
Minnesota, an anti-bullying law.
Yeah, the anti-bullying law. He did post that.
Trying to look it up right now.
Yeah, and I think that was, and also Joe M in the chat room says Count Dankula was not in America, so this is in America.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this has to happen in America. But yeah, he did post that link to the anti-bullying law that was passed. What was it, Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah, anti-cyberbullying. Is that what it is?
I think. Yeah, it's cyberbullying.
No, I haven't looked.
It's against it.
It's against it.
Yeah, just in case.
Not for it.
Yeah, not for it.
But
yeah.
is it an arrest? I thought it was like a fine, like a $500 fine. I don't know. I mean,
I'm looking it up. I don't know, actually.
Should we count that? That's still the same wrong thing.
It's in the neighborhood, but it's when I read the headlines.
I guess what he's saying, though, I could see him saying is like it starts with a fine, and then years later it leads to arrest.
It's a slippery
and jail
slope,
time.
right? It's a slippery slope argument. Taylor Nikolai in the chat room says, "I'm not aware of this law as a Minnesotan."
Well, then,
he acts like he still lives there. Like he talks about it all the time.
Okay, and here is the prediction that we had from Rucka. We should play Rucka's prediction. Rucka had a bunch of bullshit ass predictions, and we talked about one of his from 2017, which is Maddox will fuck off, which I disagreed with. I didn't. He had a bunch of bullshit predictions, like Maddox will finally learn something. Just a bunch of...
Which you also didn't.
I did fucking learn Dreadmere. I learn everything all the time. And it's...
Like what?
Like everything I say, I write it down, and then I read it, and I learn from it. That's how I learn things.
Okay.
Here's Rucka's prediction from 2018. Listen to this.
Here's a really good prediction, I think. The SJWs and the alt-right will begin to kind of merge, where you'll have like alt-right people that are also like third-wave feminists.
There was a headline. I tweeted this last night. It asked, like, can you fight for the cause of women while admiring an anti-Semite? Maybe. That was a headline in the LA Times last night.
Oh, that... Okay.
But that technically happened in 2019.
In 2019, so Rucka was wrong. Yeah! Yeah. Oh, boy. That makes me so happy that it came true in the wrong year.
Just 3 days off.
3 days off. So that means 100% wrong.
How much of the population do you think people like SJW? There's so many fucking acronyms. But like, how many people do you think of our population in America would characterize themselves as an SJW?
I think I have an educated guess. I would say about 24%.
Okay.
Why is that?
Because when
That seems really high to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then probably half that, then maybe like 12%. And I'll tell you why, is because Huffington Post women.
You were just so emphatic about that 24%, and then you immediately were like, well, maybe about 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought about it, and I think you're right, because most people don't even know what SCW
My
is.
point is sometimes I feel like so much emphasis is put on talking about this.
Yeah.
And then when I'm like, how many people are we really talking about here?
Right.
This like perceived massive group of people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just
Well,
don't know.
Even if it's not that significant, if they're loud enough, they can be influential.
They're influential.
Yeah,
I
but
think
it's
that's
an
the problem.
ideology.
Yeah.
Like we go to, I've been to like MythCon and where these people SJWs go, and even they will say it sarcastically or ironically. Like nobody commits. Like I'm an SJW. Like even like 12% is high because they may be that, but they're not going to say I am that. They're just going to have the same idea.
It's kind of like a pejorative. Like some people use it ironically, but here's why I came to that number is because Huffington Post a while back, which not a fan. I don't like Huffington Post, but Huffington Post women is very like far left SJW in that sphere, right? They did a survey to see how many women identified as feminists, and the number of women who identified as feminists, according to Huffington Post women, was only 24%. And with men, it's something like it's like something even lower. It's like 18-something%, whatever. However, when they asked the same people whether or not they were for equal rights or essentially egalitarians, the number jumped up to like 90% on both counts.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that's like the underlying. That's what they think they're fighting for is equal
rights,
equal everything.
I went out on a date recently with
okay, stop bragging. Jesus Christ.
With a girl. She was like, "Are you a feminist?" And I'm like, "No." Oof. And I'll tell you, I know it's like, and I'm like, "No." But here's why, because I think the label comes with a lot of baggage. Am I for equal rights? Yes, but the label today has changed. It means like you're for equal rights plus all the manspreading, mansplaining, all these like crazy kind of things that people are I feel like ruining the movement for. Like what started out as an authentic movement for equal rights has now kind of shifted into this like weird thing where we're trying to penalize guys for spreading their balls.
It kind of got hijacked by Marxist intellectuals like Catherine McKinnon, who teaches law at the University of Michigan.
Give me an example. What did she do?
Well, she a lot of times she'll give speeches like from the 80s and 90s where she's talking about like how great the Bolsheviks were and everything, but she's like known as one of the leading feminist intellectuals in America.
Oh, and interesting. I didn't know that. So anyway,
well, maybe you should write it down and then read it, and then you'll know it.
I
think Bell Hooks is another one.
It's weird that you have all these red flags for dating. Like, oh, if she doesn't offer to pay, I'm out of the door. But then when they say, oh, are you a feminist? You're fine with it. You're just like slightly defensive. Like she clearly has a lot of things to say. Like that, I'm just not gonna. That's a problem.
I went on another date where this girl's like. Because I was telling her I'm like politically moderate, I'm pretty centrist, and I know centrist is also one of those words now. It's becoming a dirty word on the internet.
Yeah,
like
it's
centrist.
annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm a centrist. Caveat, asterisk, whatever. I'm going to stop using that word eventually because it's becoming like feminist or like SJW. Like it has baggage.
It's almost like it's not a good idea to subject yourself to an entire group ideology. It's almost like that's a bad thing to do.
Is it going to be a ding or a buzz, Dreadmere?
I don't know. Let's keep talking.
Maybe both.
Yeah, right. So I was like, yeah, I'm pretty politically moderate. Doesn't mean I don't have strong views. I'm very against Trump. And she's like, well, what do you think of babies in cages?
Oh, Jesus.
And I said, well, depends. What did the babies do?
Isn't a crib technically a cage?
A crib is a cage. That's right, Dread.
Yeah, it has bars on it.
Kirk, yeah, it does have bars.
They are made so babies can't get out of it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Anyway, we should get to my
So
prediction.
both of their predictions were wrong, basically. Rucka's and
Jesse's is. I'm going to put an asterisk next to because we'll have to look into the details of that law, that anti-bullying law. But I think because a lot of times these laws get passed and people have, the outrage culture is on the left and the right. Because the outrage culture on the left is like, oh my God, someone said a no word. But the outrage culture on the right is also like taking these laws and then like making a slippery slope argument about it and saying, oh my God, now people are going to get arrested for using the wrong pronoun with a trans person. When you look at the details of the law, it's like, no, it's kind of more nuanced than that, and it's kind of like, it's steeped in like harassment and assault and things like that. So anyway, we'll put an asterisk next to that one.
All right, so what was yours?
My prediction. This is a real smart one. Listen to this. Shitty predictions all around. But I got the real ones, guys. All right, I got a real prediction for you.
Yeah.
And I think I may be right on this. And Jesse, I know you'll have some opinions on this, but this one is a prediction about Taco Bell. I think Taco Bell will have a burger taco.
Oh, God.
That sounds like something you would predict.
Yeah, you know what does that mean, Dreadmere? Is that a good thing?
Did it not come true?
No, it did not. Not from Taco Bell.
Okay.
But it did. There were several franchises that made taco burgers. And I was saying that the shell itself would be a taco or a burger patty.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, that is disgusting.
Yeah.
But they did do the fried chicken as the shell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are...
In the neighborhood.
But I feel like that just, to me, that a fried chicken cutlet, like a breaded chicken cutlet, is infinitely less greasy than a naked burger patty.
Yeah, they're all pretty gross.
But you know what? I guarantee you they thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you they brainstorm about this before.
It's coming. It's one of those things. We got a super chat in the chat room from Elizabeth for $5. Thank you, Elizabeth. She says, cyberbullying is now illegal in Michigan, punishable by jail time. Is that true? Let's get a fact check. If Taylor's still in the chat room,
I mean, she just spent $5 to say it, so
yeah, well,
I kind of feel like it's true.
I guess
that's a lot of money to spread lies.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's true. Don't make Taylor work on he's at home.
Yeah, during his holiday. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, those are the predictions. I think that 3 out of 3 all wrong. Although an asterisk next to Jesse's, and then Rucka's just wrong by 3 days. Damn.
So,
but still 100% wrong.
Well, that's
100%.
closest.
100% wrong.
All right,
that's what that means.
2019.
Because it has to happen in 2018. If it comes in at 12:01 a.m. on 2019, you're still 100% wrong.
Wow.
Well, what time zone was he in?
Yeah. So, Kirk, what is your prediction?
I think Facebook is really going to fall off in 2019.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that one a lot.
Now,
by fall off, you mean less users, or like less money coming in, like, or just like less culturally relevant?
That's a good question, because at first I was going to say the business, and then I remembered that they own Instagram and Oculus, so they might be pretty safe on the business end. But as a platform, in 2018, Facebook's stock price peaked at like $215 per share over the summer, and then like in a day they lost like $40 per share. It was like the biggest loss in the history of the stock market valuation.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
In one day?
Yeah.
What was the news? Like, was it the Cambridge Analytica scandal?
I think it was just the fact. I think it was that, and the fact that their user growth has stalled out.
Yeah.
I think it was like days after that when it fell off, but it's been downhill ever since. And I know the stock market has been on a downhill trend for the last few months altogether, and you can attribute it to that. But it was $215 when it peaked. Now it's at $135 a share today. So
wow,
that's a huge drop off.
That is a huge drop.
But another thing is that younger people under 25, are either not embracing it nearly as much, or they're just leaving it altogether. And I know this part is anecdotal on my end, but a lot of people I talk to who are under 25, Dreadmere can attribute to this, but they just don't think Facebook is cool. They think it's that's what my mom used it. That was what my grandma and my teacher used. Why would I want to share memes and Fortnite playthroughs and clips and vaping videos with my parents? I don't want to do that. It's kind of like this. I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right on that.
I disagree 100%.
With what part? What do you
disagree?
Well,
okay, you're right about it not being very cool right now. Like people, I don't really go on Facebook for social aspects anymore. But what Facebook did do is launch a Facebook Watch. It's like what they're doing is they're paying creators and producing their own shows, and so they get certain people to create. It's kind of like
it's like a Facebook. It's hardware, but like with just like Facebook TV, basically.
Yeah, it's like, but they're putting like money behind it, like Netflix would or something, like YouTube Red, like a paid service, and they're really good shows. Like there's this one show called The Real Bros of Simi Valley with like Cody Ko and like all these old Viners, and like it's really funny, and you can only watch it on Facebook. Like they're not allowed to upload it to YouTube, so the first season's on YouTube, and then Facebook approached them and brought it to Facebook.
But I remember seeing that piece of hardware that Facebook is trying to get, and people can video chat with it and use that.
Maybe.
But I don't think that a lot of people are going to feel comfortable having a device from Facebook in their home and it's always on. And I think a lot of people are going to be creeped out by that because of all the data scandals that Facebook has been having. Like, I mean, all the companies aren't great, but out of all of them, I feel like Facebook is like, Jesus
I mean, there's
Christ.
a million things that you can do to video chat with somebody, but as far as content goes, Facebook is really pushing the idea that we're going to have good content on this site, so come to this site for that. I don't know about socializing or whatever, but there's good stuff to watch.
That's a valid point, but like, don't they have a lot of competition? Isn't Twitch kind of taking off, and you already have YouTube and Netflix and all these other competitors to Facebook?
Yeah, there's competition, but that's why they have it so that they can't upload this to YouTube or something. Like, they're saying we're going to back it, but it's got to be here.
It's exclusively Facebook.
Yeah,
I don't know if Dreadmere is. I don't know what age he is.
Me either.
I honestly, if he told me he was 44, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see that. And if he said he was 14, I'd be like, I could definitely see that.
He might be a 900-year-old vampire.
I can't tell. He's got one of those faces that's like, you're going to look this way for the rest of your life. See, I was born, and I like immediately look like 35. When I've been 35 since I've been 22.
Yeah.
Like, I just have. I saw a picture of you from 10 years ago. I look exactly the same.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Another thing that happened with Facebook in 2018 was they purged a lot of pages out of, because of Russian propaganda, fake news, bot accounts and all, and trolls. But a lot of them were popular. One of them was this page called The Mind Unleashed, which I'm definitely not a fan of.
I remember that, yeah.
But it had a lot of followers, and a lot of people were pissed off that, it's like, why would I want to come to Facebook when he might just delete one of the pages that I like to follow?
The Free Thought Project, too, was another one.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
It was the Free Thought Project.
Okay.
That's the one. And that was an interesting one to me because that's kind of been like...
I think I confused that with Mind Unleashed, so it might have been the Free Thought
Project. And that was the one where it's kind of like an anti-cop Facebook page, but... a
lot of Guy Fawkes memes.
Yeah, a lot of Guy Fawkes memes, but also, like, I've seen some decent journalism come out of there. I think Cassandra Fairbanks was one of the journalists, or one of the ladies who was, like, writing stuff for that website, and she got kind of notoriety. It went pretty viral. But then I think it was categorized as kind of like a hate page or something like that because they started focusing so much on anti-cop stuff.
Okay.
And I think there was a lot of pressure on Facebook. But what was it, like a couple episodes ago, Ron, I brought in that news story where we talked about how Facebook purged something like 1.2 billion accounts on their platform because they were either fake accounts or bots or some other shit. 1.2 billion. I mean, Twitter had this problem too a while back where it sounded like only 12% of their user base was active at all. So people are just creating these fake accounts, these throwaway accounts, these duplicates, these bots.
Instagram did that too. They had a huge purge a while back.
A lot of
everybody's like page, follower count dropped by like, I don't know, 10%, 20%.
In YouTube as well. I mean, it's a big problem online. And I read this New York Times article talking about how they're trying to tackle this because there's so many of these like bot farms that create, these just seas of fake accounts to manipulate votes and subscribers and things like that. And it's a big problem because you can shift your IP addresses around and things like that. So they're trying to tackle that constantly. But Dreadmere, I want to address something you said earlier about Facebook Watch, and you think that might contradict Kirk's prediction. I'll tell you why that is a big old fat wrong, and it's because of VH1. VH1. A long time ago, I talked to some VH1 executives, and they were telling me the problem they had with VH1, which is when the network first launched, they did these kind of... They wanted to differentiate themselves from MTV. When MTV was first launched back in the day, they played actual music videos, and VH1 kind of did the same thing, so people were confused. They're like, well, why are there two of these networks? What is VH1 doing? So VH1 kind of changed their format to these, like, 10-minute... short infotainment pieces like where are they now, that sort of thing, like what happened to this band from the 90s or 80s or whatever. And then that was what the network kind of became known for, and that was their brand, and people tuned in for that. Then when they tried to change their programming, people revolted. They were like, no, this isn't what we came to VH1 for. And so it didn't work, and the network kind of languished, to my understanding. And I think that's the same thing with the same problem Facebook's going to have. Unless YouTube really shits the bed. If YouTube really fucks up, people might revolt and say, okay, we're publishing on Facebook as a platform. But I don't think Facebook is much friendlier to creators.
I mean, YouTube's not exactly held in high regard as far as creators go right now. People are looking for another site. People are looking for somewhere else to go to put content as well as consume content. People are fed up with YouTube, I think.
You know what I'm fed up is people bitching about YouTube. Like, can you just like?
I mean, I don't agree with them necessarily.
I've never.
I think it's kind of annoying.
We have so many content creators who come on the show.
Yeah,
and every single one of them, within the first fucking 45 seconds of meeting them, every time it's like, well, I fucking hate YouTube. Yeah, and I'm like, every single one. I'm like, you don't fucking have a job. You don't have a real job. Like, you have a job, but you don't have to go to an office for a job. You sit at home, you think of shit, and you have fans who and you help fund your lifestyle.
Okay, Dad.
Like, just shut the fuck up. No. Just shut the fuck up.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
No, my grandfather came to this country, was
Jesus.
an immigrant, literally worked in a coal mine.
literally worked
Well,
on
why
the
did
first
it-
YouTube
And a
channel.
piece of coal fell on him.
Why
And
didn't
it's
he
like,
start a Patreon?
it's just shut the at some point, it's like, I get it, it's unfair, but at some point, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean, my
It's-
God.
It's fair, but you're wrong for why it's what your points are.
I agree with Dreadmere. Like, you're right, Ron, and you're...
We could stop there. We could just stop there.
Not
Let's
for
just
the
stop
reasons,
there.
though, wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Real quick, though, Taylor, we do have an update from Taylor with... Oh, wait, never mind. The message was retracted. I thought he had an update. We do have a super chat from Pavage Bavin. It says, Facebook's data collection is a drop in the bucket compared to what ISPs can track. That's true, but ISPs aren't really doing as much with that data, to my knowledge. They're not like creating these neural networks and deep data mining.
Taylor does have an update there. He said the Federated States of Micronesia, Marshall Islands, and Palau have no laws, policy on cyberbullying. All other states and territories have cyberbullying laws/policies.
Yeah, okay, so this is already a thing. So I don't know why it was such a big thing that it happened in Minnesota.
I mean, I've heard stories of even a while ago where people would post something like, I'm going to do something to like at school, or I'm going to like attack this guy on Facebook. Like, they post it and then the police come and arrest them for that because it's like,
well, it's inciting violence.
Right, yeah. So I think that is, there's something to be said about that the threat of force is force. But is that cyberbullying? It's like, no, it's not cyberbullying.
Well, cyberbullying also is kind of a vague term because what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, it has to be properly defined.
Yeah, is it like that Lifetime movie?
Back in my day, we used to bully people in person.
Yeah. That was just called IRL bullying.
Yeah.
In the coal mines or whatever?
In the coal mines.
Yeah, I used to push people down in the coal mines.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, look, Kirk, I agree with that, and I'll tell you why. I think Facebook's decline in, first of all, engagement and use has been a long downward spiral for a while now. Because just look at the amount you personally post. Like, I don't post anything on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, but it's still fucking massive.
Every time I go to Facebook, I wonder, what am I doing here?
But if there's a competitor who comes up against Facebook, right? Like, do you really think Facebook's just going to let them grow, or they're just going to buy them out?
Well, yeah, but here's the problem. I think that we're going to have going forward, and it's a good thing, which is Facebook has kind of set the precedent that you can't trust us. You cannot trust Facebook. They don't have your best interest in mind. They don't have your security interests in mind. They don't have your privacy in mind. So Facebook will betray your trust, and they've kind of set that precedent. And I think any other company going forward, even Google's motto for a long time was "Don't be evil."
Yeah.
And now Google, there's all sorts of scandals, like Google's kowtowing to the Chinese government with their censorship policies. But then the argument could be made, hey, if not Google, who's going to come in and be that number one provider? Is it going to be Russia? And do you think Russia is going to uphold the values of free speech and non-censorship more so than Google? I mean, it's kind of like you're picking the better of two bad solutions. So I get it, but like it's set a precedent so that people are kind of doubtful and mistrustful of some of these big companies.
You should be wary of whatever products you're using. I don't know if that would apply to the next. I mean, people might be more aware of it, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's Google, and I mean, there's Bing. Forgot about Bing.
I remember
y'all forgot about Bing.
Yeah,
That's what Spider-Man uses.
Hey guys, don't forget about Bing.
I remember Bill Simmons talking about Facebook last year on a podcast. He was talking about the tech journalists. I can't remember their name, but they had a long podcast about Facebook. And he was talking about how he really soured on them because Bill Simmons has millions of followers. He's a prominent sports writer. He founded the Ringer Network, which is part of HBO. But he said when he got his Facebook, he had really strict security. Like only his closest friends could see his stuff. And he thought he was safe. And then after a few years, he would get messages on Twitter from fans saying, hey, I just want to let you know, if I go to your Facebook, I can see everything. I know who you're friends with. I see pictures of your kids.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought I had the settings right.
Yep.
And Facebook must have changed the terms of services and must have buried that notification on page 356 and not told me, really. I mean, they told me, but they didn't really tell me. And it's just like, that makes me not want to trust them anymore.
No. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg tried to do this transparency thing a long time ago when Facebook was still, in its infancy stages, where every time there was a change to the user policy, he would make it a democratic process. He would put it out at the top of Facebook, and everyone would see what it was. And they tried this 3 times, and every single time there's this huge backlash, huge revolt. Yeah. Everyone was like, fuck Facebook, I'm deleting my account, whatever. So then Facebook just stopped they kept changing their policies, but they just stopped publicizing it and stopped making it democratic.
There's got to be
process.
something that goes against that too. The whole like, well, we told you about it. I mean, we told. It's like the company gets to say, we told you about it, and it's buried in this like massively longer than
the Constitution,
than nobody ever reads,
Yeah.
and so the entire onus and responsibility is put on me as a consumer to go through this very verbose document and to see what's changed.
I mean, like, it is still on you, but to do something like that, to change your security settings, kind of not really telling you up front.
But it's a way for them to do whatever they want, and then they put the caveat like, oh, well, you're responsible.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like now people should go through that more. I mean, if you're going to buy something or use something, you should
but it's not about, like, let's say you do that, right? And you buy into this product with a certain expectation for it to deliver whatever you bought into.
Mm-hmm.
If they then retroactively change it, like, for example, Amazon got in trouble.
The PlayStation story was coming.
The PlayStation, the PlayStation story is a good one. But Amazon was retroactively censoring versions of I think it was a Mark Twain book. They took out the N-word that were sold to certain customers. And people were like, no, fuck you. I bought this book. You can't publish a different manuscript than the one I paid for.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what's happening with these companies. And there's a story I just read about Grindr. Someone's suing Grindr, the gay dating app site, because this guy broke up.
Too many women.
There's too many chicks on Grindr. That's where all the dudes are, so that's where all the chicks are going. So this guy broke up with his boyfriend, and his ex-boyfriend became vindictive and obsessed with him, and started adding fake profiles of him to Grindr. Every day, this dude was getting 12 guys coming to his place of work, coming to his home, looking for sex. And this guy filed multiple police reports, and finally he's taking Grindr to court because he's saying, look, people are misusing your platform. They're using it in a way that you didn't even warn us about that could be misused. Like, for example, he's trying to make the same argument that this is not like a free speech issue, but rather that it's a product that is malfunctioning. Like, if you buy a stove, you turn the switch and you expect to, heat your water. When you turn it off, you should expect for it to stop, not to continue using that heat or whatever. Like, it's almost like a product misuse argument.
How is literally anybody that you invite to your house could just post that somewhere? Like, why is that Grindr's fault specifically?
Because Grindr is, they're the ones who created this platform without the adequate safeguards. Like, if you create a product that harms your end user and they signed up for it to use it under like a certain with a certain understanding, then you might be liable for it. Like, if you buy a car that blows up.
Yeah, but this is like something like doxing, right? That's what this is. It's doxing. Like, I don't know that the site that the doxing happened on is necessarily at fault, because I could dox anybody just by saying where they live, and like, I don't know. I just don't know how you would safeguard that. Like, you're choosing to give information to somebody knowing that they could betray you. Like,
no. This is his boyfriend doing it.
Right,
his ex-boyfriend. Yeah.
Right. So he went to his house presumably a few times, and he knows where he lives, and then he was upset about it, so he gave his address to people. Like, I don't see why that's
Dreadmere is saying that the end result is the person who's actually doing it.
Yeah,
the ex-boyfriend.
And Maddox is saying that the company that's facilitating this has a certain responsibility as well.
They have safeguards. It's like, for example, companies right now have safeguards against your password getting stolen or leaked or whatever, because they put it in databases with hashes and they encrypt it and whatever. They're doing their due diligence. Companies could very simply solve this problem. Like YouTube right now. YouTube voluntarily created this Digital Millennium Copyright Act procedure where they have content ID. Mm-hmm. So if you upload a piece of music, they do a check in their database against all other music that they have archived, and they see if there's an exact match, and they say, okay, this is copyrighted content. You could do something very similar with Grindr and just say, hey, this profile picture keeps getting uploaded. The person who this represents doesn't want to be on our website, so we should prevent that from happening. It's something they could do, but they're not doing, and I think that's if they have the ability to prevent abuse on their platform and they don't exercise it, the question then becomes why?
Why?
Yeah.
That's kind of, I don't know. These are all, I guess, growing pains. I don't really know. I just don't see, like, why Grindr it'd still be responsible. Even thinking of that, like, because there's a lot of issues where people, like, maybe you forget your account password, you make a new account. Like, that happens, So I don't see why, and plus it's not like this guy couldn't still do this. Like, I feel like if this guy wanted to get back at him, he could just go on Facebook and do it, or somewhere else, and just put his address out. You know what I mean?
Well, then they're just two people who are both breaking the law.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, this guy who is doxing him, he's definitely committing harm to this other guy. Like, he should be held responsible. I don't know that Grindr should be.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting debate that's going to be had. But anyway,
Not to mention all the political stuff that's going on with Facebook. Now that we're kind of at this topic, they were in court last year, and who knows what's going to happen to them going forward politically.
Let's get to Dreadmere's prediction, though. I want to hear what Dreadmere has to say.
It's kind of like the opposite of Kirk's, where I think a new social media platform is going to emerge to like the forefront, either the flagship of content, like video content, or like YouTube, or maybe socializing in some way. But I think there's going to be a new social media that everybody is on board with. Not like TikTok, but like something else.
Okay, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that that's true.
But it's not going to like all of a sudden be. It's not going to all of a sudden be better. Maybe it will be in some respects, but then in a few years, people will be just as pissed off at whatever this new social media thing is going to be.
For a minute, everyone thought Snapchat was going to be the next big thing, and it's been a total flop for the last couple of years.
Yeah, Snapchat's pretty much dead. In fact, the thing I see most on Snapchat these days is just ads for TikTok. It's so sad. I tried to watch one of the fucking bullshit Snapchat stories recently where it was from some food website, Bon Appetit or something like that, and it was like, here's the 13 foods that like look like something you think they're not, and they're all just cocks. And it's just like it's like here's a gooey duck. It's not what you think. Get your mind out of the gutter. And
yeah, I do hate those. I hate the fucking condescending, all those. You never would guess how to do this or some shit, or like, look at this. You're probably thinking that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I'm just on Snapchat. Like, why are you assuming?
Yeah, they're planting it in your mind, and it's also like a super close up shot of like a gooey duck, which just looks like a veiny penis. It's so gross. And then they're like, get your mind out of the gutter. Ha, gotcha. Yeah. And then the next one is like, this one looks like a white dildo, but it's not. It's actually Squidro, idiot. I'm like, this is.
It's like always one step away from calling me fag, and like pushing me, and you're like, why are you doing this?
So, and in between this really shitty content was ad after ad after ad. I'm like, I'm just trying to get through this listicle essentially on Snapchat, and most of the ads were just for TikTok, which is a cringe factory.
That was actually a prediction I thought about bringing in, because Snapchat is down to like under $6 a share, and I thought someone might buy Snapchat this year because it's so in the gutter.
They really shit the bed. They were number one for so long. I mean, they were like the hot new thing, and they solved the problem of Facebook, which is Facebook has too many old people on it, right? It's considered like an old, unhip thing. I remember like 6-7 years ago, I walked up to a girl in a bar, and we're talking, we're hitting it off, whatever. I'm like, hey, can I add you on Facebook? And she goes, ew, Facebook's for old people. And this is like 7 years ago.
Well, she was 12 years old, man.
Oh, yeah.
It also is like I feel like adding someone on Facebook is really personal, because there is so much of your information on there. Like, you should probably know that you like when you meet someone at a bar, you're not like, let me add you on Facebook. Like, you can add someone on Instagram because you're just doing all the cool shit that you do on Instagram and Twitter maybe even. But Facebook is like, it is kind of highly personal, and I think it's reserved for like people that you know at work or people that you see a lot. Like I don't know. I feel like it's just gonna have a different place as far as that stuff goes. Like, it's kind of like a LinkedIn or something where
LinkedIn is an interesting one, because that might be a platform that really kind of takes off, and
it is pushing like even content now, like video content.
Yeah, our own Taylor was kind of pitching that a while back. But I'm hopeful, Dreadmere. I hope that there's a new social media network that comes by. Currently, the reigning champ, I think, is Instagram, by far. Yeah,
Instagram's always been up there. But Facebook, keep in mind, Facebook's been around for a very long time, like a very, very long time. So Ron, you were saying like they have a short shelf life. I think it depends on the platform. Like,
they all tend to cannibalize. Facebook is the one that is still here, but they all kind of cannibalize one another. Where we're all like infatuated with Snapchat, and then 6 to 8 months later, everyone's like, Snapchat, what a fucking sucks, and then we just move on to the next thing, and there isn't one. Facebook is the one that seems to like it has stuck around the longest because it's grown so big, and it uses that Facebook Connect. So now you need Facebook to log into all these different websites, which from a security standpoint, I remember when they first rolled that out, I was like, I am never doing that.
I still don't do it.
Oh, yeah, I always have a unique.
Every site.
Absolutely not. I won't give Facebook access to all my other... just get a password manager, man. It does it for you. It's the same thing, and it's way more safer. But I don't know. I just feel like
nothing lasts forever. Memorize your passwords like a man.
Yeah.
Just one button. I just continue with Facebook.
Continue. That's good.
I feel like Facebook is kind of in that spot where Apple has been post Steve Jobs, where they're not really innovative anymore. They're just playing catch up, and whatever new thing comes out, they just try to copy it or replicate it in some manner.
Well, Facebook has become so big, they're just kind of a lumbering giant, so they have to play it safe. They're the biggest.
Can we just get one prediction that's not about goddamn social media?
Okay, I got one, Ron. I got it. I got a prediction. Let's get to mine, and we'll get to yours last, yeah?
Sounds good.
All right, here's my prediction. My prediction, and I get one of these because I run the soundboard, is people will be totally burnt out on Star Wars. Yeah, finally, a real fucking prediction.
I think that's already happened in 2018.
Yeah, well, it's starting to. It's starting to. But I think that it's going to be the year where people just revolt against Star Wars. They're not going to go see that next Star Wars movie, and not just because it's bad, but because people are tired of it, right?
Not just because it's bad.
Yeah, because the what was that Star Wars movie that everybody panned?
Han Solo?
Solo was bad. Yeah,
No, I
maybe it
thought
was Solo.
everyone liked Solo. People didn't go to see Solo because they didn't like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, no one saw it, but it was good.
You know what? I watched it on the plane, and I was all ready to shit all over it, and I was like, I really like this movie.
Solo?
I thought it was,
No, it wasn't Solo. It was the other one, the Star
Last
Wars
Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Yeah,
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
That one was
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
I watched it on Netflix, and I was like, it's like an hour and a half of nothing.
There's a lot of things going on.
Was that
There's
the one
nothing going on.
where Luke Skywalker is a hologram? Is that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Spoiler
yeah.
alert.
That was a big piece of shit. Red Letter Media does the best Star Wars reviews. You guys got to watch Red Letter Media's. I mean, they're an hour long, and you think, no fucking way am I going to watch this shit for an hour. And I that's when I first saw the first Red Letter Media, and I kind of started skimming it, and I was like, this is so good. It's so well done. This guy, it comes from a place of, like, this guy's got like the biggest nerd heart, because it is just like comes from a place of pure passion and love for movies, and especially Star Wars. So his criticism of it comes from a place of like almost like a wounded bird. Like, I want you to be better, but you're not. Yeah. And here's how you could be better.
It's like almost like a disappointed father.
Yeah, like a disappointed father. They're so good. Curmudgeon in the chat room says Star Wars was never good. I also got a super chat from Pavich Bavin for $5. Thank you, Pavich. He says, if you have that grinder debate, it will literally be the gayest debate in the universe. Maybe. We could probably find a gayer one.
You know, I used to be a defender of the prequels until I watched those Red Letter Media reviews, and I was like, okay, you're right. You
got persuaded, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So you enjoyed it less after you watched someone else's review?
I would say so.
That's interesting. I'm kind of like that, actually. I wrote this review of one of the prequels a long time ago, and this girl who's like, yeah, I really like the prequels until I read your review, and I'm like, oh, I kind of
You know, though, to go off on your point about how Star Wars is going to lose it, I did just read this article online about this guy who wrote that your shitty opinion about a Netflix movie doesn't matter.
Oh,
Maddox, did you see that one? Did you see that article? It just came out like this past week.
Sounds good. What is it? Tell me more.
It's fine.
You won't see 3 more of those in 2019.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a great prediction.
Yeah,
about movies.
I mean, Boba Fett got canceled in 2018. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, I think Boba Fett got canceled because of how Solo performed.
Yeah, it did. So does that really count as a 2019? I don't know.
Well, so you guys are bolstering my case is by saying Solo was a good movie.
It was.
And it didn't do well, which means it's a sign of the burnout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or is it people finally going to watch Solo now it's on Netflix, realize it was a good movie, and be like, you know what, maybe I should give Star Wars another chance?
No.
Here's the thing, though. Are people... There's a crucial difference, because you said people are going to get burned out. Are they burned out, or do they think that Star Wars is being ruined?
I think it... I'm going to say burnout, because it doesn't matter how good the movie is, like Solo, and that's a sign. Like, Solo was actually, according to you guys, it was good, and people still didn't go see it, so it's got to be burnout. They're running that franchise into the fucking ground by merchandising the shit out of it.
Because you look at the Marvel stuff, the Marvel movies are cranked out at a much faster rate than Star Wars ever has, and people are still going to see those.
Yeah, they have a lot of merchandise, too, and they're killing it. Like, Marvel everything.
But Marvel has enough diversity in their storylines in their universe that, like, the Marvel comic universe is so much bigger than Star Wars is just one universe. It's the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, but if you saw how many fucking books and comic books and games and all these things that are canon and side story, like, Star Wars does have the capacity for a cinematic universe. I don't know that people want to see a cinematic universe from Star Wars, like, but it does have the capacity there. But Marvel's just doing it better. Like, Marvel's, like, they're making them out fast. Like you said, they're constantly doing shit. Like, it's like they have their big Avengers movie. That's the one that everyone looks for. And then throughout the year, they have these other characters that are pretty good, too. It's like...
And when there was discussions of Disney buying Fox, everyone's like, oh, we're going to get more X-Men movies part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Fantastic Four. I don't think that panned out, but...
I mean, no, but like Star Wars has been ruined as far as, like, the prequels are shitty. It's just very inconsistent. They're constantly shifting the property around.
There have been more, from a fan's point of view, I think there have been more misses than there have been home runs.
With Marvel? Or
with Star Wars.
Yeah, yes.
And whenever there is, like, a home run, there's still always people, like, very fervent, I don't know, very strong opinions. So, I mean, I don't know if you could ever make a Star Wars fan happy.
Well, okay, so the way that a Star Wars fan looks at Star Wars is they think 4, 5, and 6 were good.
Yeah.
They've always been good until they remastered and shit. That's bad. But the 4, 5, and 6 originals are good. 6 is kind of on the cusp. It's like, okay. And then 7 is like, okay, also. 8 is a tragedy. 1,
Yes.
2, and 3 are bastardizations of the franchise. So, like, most of the, like, so it hasn't been good for, like, 20 years, as far as they're concerned.
I don't know. Maddox, you might be... Yeah, I'm kind of leaning more towards maybe it's time for people to are getting a little burnt out by it.
Yeah, when they have,
I mean,
like...
it's still going to be a huge... They're still going to make... I don't think a movie will lose money. But I don't think it'll... But only because you're comparing it to previous movies where it made, like, ungodly amounts of money. So, of course, anything is going to be... not going to reach that critical high. Like when they came out with the first couple years ago, you know, that one that came out around Christmas time and it broke all sorts of box office records. Yeah. Like, it's like you can't do that every single time when you're coming out with this many movies because there was people were looking forward to it because it had been a while since we had seen one. Now that they're coming out 1 to 2 movies a year, yeah, I do think it. But with burnout, like, are you saying that they're going to lose money on these things?
One can hope. That's
new hope.
That's a new hope. Yeah, there you go. I think if they do lose money, that'll be the nail in the coffin. But they have
at least for another 10 years.
Yeah. You know? So the reason that what was that relaunch of the Star Wars movie? It was kind of like the one where Harrison Ford got killed in it.
Yeah, it's 7.
That was 7. What was that one? Is that A New Hope?
No, it's
Force Awakens.
Yeah,
Force Awakens. Force Awakens was the phenomenon that they were hoping for because it was a relaunch and reboot after years since, you know, the prequels left a bad taste in people's mouths. So people had low expectations. They went to see this movie. I think overall it was, you know, more positive than negative.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the way it should be. A Star Wars movie once every, like, 5 to 10 years. Not every fucking year.
Did you hear, like, Topher Grace is a huge Star Wars fan, and apparently he recut the first 3 prequels.
Oh, really?
And apparently, like, he recut it, and he has, like, private screenings of it.
I heard about this.
And and apparently, like, people are like, it's awesome. Like, like he just took out entire storylines and kind of. He took 3 movies into one movie and used the best bits from either. People are like, yeah, it's really, really good.
That's how it should be.
And I love that, like, you know.
I was very curious to see that. I can't imagine that it's...
I think it's Topher Grace.
I mean, a lot of things are wrong with it besides the story. It's like the CGI, the overuse of CGI, the lightsaber shit. It's like there's a ton of stuff. Like,
oh, I love the lightsaber shit.
I'm not into the lightsabers.
Yeah, but Red Letter Media kind of talked about, like, the lightsaber shit, too. How in the Star Wars universe itself, they have kind of shit all over the lightsabers, which is... At first, it was this thing that only Jedis could use, and very, very proficiently. And then near the end, they were like, "Oh, lightsabers are just a thing," and they have Luke Skywalker literally throw one over his shoulder, like, "Oh, this thing that we've built up this whole time? Yeah, who gives a shit?" And then people have, like, different color lightsabers. Everyone has fucking lightsabers. At first, it was like this thing that it was like an old weapon that only certain people knew how to use very proficiently. Now it's like. Fucking droids have lightsabers. Robots are fucking taking over. AT-AT machines. You have Deus Ex Machinas fucking everywhere. It's a shit. Look, the whole thing's becoming a shit show. And I can't wait for that series to just... When you see Darth Vader shower heads and see...
I'm telling you... There's like millions of Iron Man fucking like laundry detergents. Like I'm telling you, like Marvel does, if not the same, if not more, merchandising.
It'd be great to have a Darth Vader toilet. When you flush it, it's like, ooh, the Force is strong with this one.
That I would buy that like a Yoda, like a what is it, a Yoda bidet, a Yoday.
Ooh. Feels nice. It does.
So I'll tell you why that doesn't hold water for me, Dreadmere, is because the Iron Man universe is distinctly different from the Black Panther universe, and it's distinctly different from the Spider-Man universe. And I know they have crossovers, they're all in the Marvel comic universe, but it does feel like distinct enough stories that Marvel doesn't have the problem of Star Wars. Star Wars is every one of these fucking characters lives in the same universe, and it's the same story going on. It's the rebels versus the Empire. And can we just define the Empire? Are they Nazis or not? Are they Nazis?
I think the new one, the First Order, I think they're modeled more after the Nazis.
Okay, then can we just have a clear Nazi so that people stop cheering for both sides?
Well, they were Darth Vader's helmet and all that was designed after a Nazi helmet.
I thought it was designed after samurai, Japanese.
Yeah, something.
I heard Nazi and I don't know. They're
Nazi samurais. Let's meet in the middle.
And then they're called stormtroopers, and Darth Vader does take on the role of an SS officer in the 4, 5, and 6, where he just kind of comes in and tells people what to do and fucks stuff up and then leaves. He's not the king of the universe like he is in later on. But I don't know. Maybe they're Nazis. I'm fine with it either way.
I just want them to define them clearly as Nazis.
I want us to define Nazis clearly. Why are we waiting for Star Wars to do it?
All right, Ron, what's your prediction?
It's not about social media, and it's certainly not about fucking movies. God damn it. Always with Facebook, you guys. It's about, I think that bugs are going to reach, the mass society level of being a snack that people will put on tacos, people will put on pizza, and people will start to enjoy. And we're the only, so North America is the only continent in the world that doesn't consume bugs on the reg. And bugs are this big thing that people are pushing because they're high in protein. They replicate like crazy, so there's not a lot of environmental infrastructure you need.
Yeah.
And also, they're super good for you. They're low in fat, high in protein, really good.
And you're gonna love the way they tickle.
And they, and honestly, I have bugs on chapulines on tacos all the time. It's just crickets from Oaxaca, Mexico.
Yes,
they're really good, and people think they're really gross. But I think, and they already are in some artisanal restaurants in LA and New York. But I think this is the year you're going to see them hit. Your mom is going to say, "Hey, have you tried these bugs?" And you're going to see it hit the mass culture.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good prediction, Ron, because I've been reading articles. Back when I made my cricket video, so I caught this cricket in my apartment, for those who don't know, a long time ago. This cricket was chirping, driving me crazy. Finally found the fucker. I caught him in a little mason jar, and I made a promise on a live stream that if I caught this fucker, I was going to fry it and eat it. And and so, I made this YouTube video where I was like, hey, guys, I caught this cricket, and I had a change of heart. I decided to let it go. And I'm like, just kidding. It's frying right now. And I ended up, the camera pans down to my to my frying pan. I threw the little fucker on a piece of baguette, a little cayenne pepper, drizzle of olive oil, ate that fucker right up. And then I started researching about crickets. Is it safe? Am I going to get a brain parasite? And they're like, no, crickets are fine. And they're really high in protein, and they're becoming a protein alternative. First of all, they're very efficient. Yeah. So you get some amount of protein.
It's basically how most of the world's poor gets their protein.
Yeah.
Because meat's really expensive.
And you want us to be like that?
No, I'm saying it's going to happen whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
There's some people who are going to be immediately grossed out by it because we have, in this country, we have an aversion to eating certain parts of the animal. Like cabiza is head. Mm-hmm. And people are like, if you could have the meat from the head, that's so fucked up. And in Mexico, it's it's awesome. You should try it. Or lingua, tongue, And there's just, we get our tight buttholes over eating certain parts of the animal.
Yep.
So I think, though, that this is a year that bugs are going to be one of those things that people are going to be grossed out by, for sure. But I think there's going to be a good portion of a good segment of the population who are going to get into it. Because actually, if you can get over the whole bug thing and you just eat them, they're good.
They're not bad, yeah.
Just like garlic, like salt. When they put it tastes more like seasoning than anything.
Yeah,
in
it's
texture.
seasoning.
It's just seasoning and a little bit of crunch.
And you can grind them up and make them into a powder that you can bake with. One of my fans a long time ago sent me some cricket protein. And I actually baked something with it. Yeah, it turned out just fine.
Because you're going to see it's going to come from people who are really into like animal rights and things like that, or vegetarian, or not animal rights, but
they'll probably have a
well,
bigger
there's a huge
problem.
campaign against eating beef right now because of
because of how much. So it'll be like not vegetarians because it's still environmental, but environmentalists are it's gonna start there, and it's gonna spread, and then you're gonna see a lot of like the hip food makers and taste makers in like Portland and Chicago, New York, and LA start to use it in dishes, and it's gonna permeate. It all starts on the coast, and then it permeates into the rest of the country.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to happen. I went to a Mexican restaurant where they had crickets on the menu. It's like cricket tacos, and everyone's like, ew, 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 I dare you to eat it. I dare you. And then finally, someone ordered it one time, and we all kind of like, ate it with some trepidation, and then we were like, oh, that's pretty good. It's just like chili and lime, like whatever they put on it. Yeah. And now it's like a staple. Every time I go to this Mexican restaurant, I order some crickets. I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
What if they were just infested and they were just too lazy to call the exterminator? Fuck it, just put it on the menu.
Then they're just like organically grown.
The crickets have to be, they have to be actually harvested and grown. Like, you don't want to just eat like regular ass weird crickets because there are certain like parasites they can get, but it's pretty rare. But yeah, the crickets that are grown for human consumption, that's the good stuff.
We're gonna have a tight butthole about it, but it's gonna be a little less tight.
Yeah. They're juicy fuckers.
And I'll like, oh yeah, you get a little burst right there. I
don't eat them raw.
I used to work on a food show where we ate crazy stuff, and I remember there's this restaurant down by the Santa Monica airport, and they serve all sorts of bugs and grubs, and we had grubs, and that was a little. Well, that's like
live grubs.
No, fried grubs. But like you bite into them, and it's like biting into little bits of like kind of imagine like you bite into something and like a little bit of mashed potato spurted out.
Yeah,
and it was like I got used to it, but it definitely took a minute. I had to do it for the cameras, but it took a minute to get used to.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to eat anything.
Dreadmere shaking his head. He's like defiantly.
Why Dreadmere? Why are you so? Why do you have this like bug aversion?
It's gross. Bugs are gross. I don't want to go to a restaurant that has bugs in it, harvested or organic. It's just...
That's what Sam Jackson said on Pulp Fiction about pigs. Says they're a dirty animal.
See, I'm as cool as Sam Jackson. But I think...
It's like you can tell me a sewer rat tastes like pumpkin pie. I still ain't going to eat it.
See?
Alex M. in the chat room says that, squid is made out of pig anus. Did you guys hear about that? Like,
oh yeah, calamari.
Calamari, yeah, that's what it is. Calamari is made out of pig anus. I think that's an urban legend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's certainly
wouldn't surprise me.
It looks like a squid. When you go to Korean barbecue, it looks like a squid is right there on your thing.
Pig anus?
A squid. That's what I said.
Oh, not those tiny squid. They're talking calamari, just the rings.
Calamari, yeah.
Oh,
the
just
rings.
The fried rings.
Yeah. It does look like a pig anus.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, anyway, guys, that's it for this debate. Do you want to add anything else, Ron? Any other bugs do you think that people will start eating?
I mean, I don't know what else is out there. I know chapulines. That's the one that I've had. That's the one that I like got to a point. I mean, I was working on a food show, so like it was like kind of the culture just to eat crazy thing. But I remember like getting chapulines and eating them like snacks because I liked them so much.
Are those?
And that was like 4 years ago.
Are those grasshoppers or crickets?
Those are. Oh Jesus, they're crickets, I think. Or wait. Are crickets and grasshoppers the same thing?
I don't know. No, they're in the family. I don't know. I'll eat both those fuckers. Grasshoppers are kind of gross.
They're the ones that are like real small. Like I know chocolate covered grasshoppers are out there, but they're like kind of more like, oh, you're eating like a huge bug.
Yeah.
These were like super tiny.
Yeah.
What about spiders?
Oh fuck, I don't know, man. Spiders would be hard for me to like kind of.
There was like I think
listen, there's some comfort levels with me too, but spiders would be difficult for me to like chomp into for sure.
I think it's either the Philippines or Indonesia or something. I saw this documentary where they were cooking giant ass tarantulas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they said that the meat that it tastes almost like lobster.
It was in Cambodia.
Cambodia, was that
because it was during the during Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, and there wasn't a lot to eat. And when there's not a lot to eat, your standards go down a little bit lower, and they got into tarantulas, and then it became this thing that like kind of like just became part of the culture and thing that they loved, and so people now will be like, it's like tarantula comfort food, and that would be tough for me to do.
Thanks, Pol Pot.
I think I could eat I think I could eat a bigger spider before I eat a smaller spider. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I could not fucking take a huge leg off a tarantula. I could do a small one because then it's over in one bite.
Yeah, but if it tastes good, you don't want it to be over in one bite.
I don't know, man. the way Dreadmere feels about bugs is the way I kind of feel about spiders, which I guess
crabs kind of look like spiders.
Yeah, crabs do look like
lobsters
spiders.
do look like weird bugs.
those are just big bugs.
They're big bugs, exactly. So would you rather eat a tiny lobster with its whole body and head? You know, I have had those like small soft-shelled crabs.
The crawfish? Is that what they?
Not crawfish, actual small soft-shelled crabs that you eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
But there has to be a certain size. Like, I don't want to eat a medium-sized one. I want to eat a big one where I can bust off its legs and like suck out its muscle. Sounds so carnivore. Or like a very tiny one where you can just like pop the whole fucker right in your mouth. But a medium-sized one, it's like, oh, what am I eating?
I don't know, man. I tell you, this year you're going to go to like a movie theater, and there's going to be like, you pay an extra $1 for like chapulines that you could put on your popcorn, like Parmesan cheese.
I think that's
going to be happening.
That's very progressive.
You're going to see that in Alamo Draft House, shit like that.
I'm calling it right now. Ron's wrong. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's it for this debate. If you want to vote, go to madcastmedia.com. The voicemail number is also on our website. We're going to get to voicemail in just a minute. We've got a quick super chat in the chat room from Pavich Batman. Says, I predict I will become a mod and change my name to Clink and become Ratchet and Clink. What a weird. Thank you, Pavich, for $5.
I feel like that's a dream that could come true.
Yeah. Well, we should get to the Babcock tip in just a second. I do have the results from last episode's debate. We debated last episode, are people you give gifts to ungrateful douchebags? All right, that was a big debate because I brought in all these like sad sack stories about all the shitty gift receivers in my life. And with 54% of the vote, no, wrong. They are ungrateful douchebags, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why you don't give gifts for anyone.
I thought it was going to be like
expect that
90% the other way.
The other way? That they are ungrateful douchebags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people had better experiences than I did. Apparently everyone. And then...
Or at least 54% of the people.
Well, yeah, 54%. And then I asked, what's the problem? Is it that people are receiving my gifts are assholes, they're ungrateful idiots, or is it that my gifts are shitty? With 82% of the vote, my gifts are shitty. Wrong.
Wow.
Assholes and idiots. That's the listener base of this show. Assholes and idiots.
Maybe you should just learn how to take a note.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think my gifts. I put a lot of thought into my gifts when I used to give them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't give them anymore. Anyway, guys, we should get to the Babcock tip. Ron, what do you got for us?
Well, I want to thank everybody for following me along on the 5-part series. And, you know, there's been some people in the chat room who say that they've purchased the book that I recommended.
Yeah.
I even saw one guy, he said, I started an IRA last week, and that just filled my heart with gratitude that people are actually doing stuff with the tips I gave. This one is for the new year. I think resolutions are dumb. I think they're for suckers. And I think if you make a resolution, you maybe could achieve it. But really, I think you're just setting yourself up to feel bad about yourself. It's just not the greatest way of entering the new year. So instead of setting up a resolution, my tip for you this week is to have a word for yourself for the year. It's just a one word that basically is something that you can use to try and motivate you or point you in the right direction. So, for example, 2 years ago, my word for the year was just debt. And I meant that word in financial respects. I paid off a majority of my debt that I had that year, but also debt of things that I basically said I was going to do for people that I never did. And then that was the year I focused on trying to finish up all those old projects. Last year's word was investment. That, in addition to being, of course, financial, but also in doing things that, for me, that I know would be better later off in life. So, for instance, I got really fucking good at flossing.
Huh.
Yeah. I've been shit with flossing there's been decades where I didn't floss, but now I floss twice a day. Fucking love it.
Makes a big difference.
So it's just a one-word thing where it doesn't make you feel bad. It just reminds you, like, oh, yeah, this is the thing I want to focus on this year. So this year, my word is consistency, because I always have a problem with starting projects and finishing them. And instead of using the word of, like, finish, it's like, no, because the way you finish something is just be consistent. And I've always had a difficulty with that.
What about just climax?
I mean, that'll be next year's word. Let me just first be consistent, and then next year, climax will be my word.
Okay.
Better luck next year.
in the chat room, Astacart says, my word of the year is resolutions. Yeah, take that, Ron.
Oh, Gianni says Dreadmere is so cool. I like that one.
Oh, you like that Gianni one, huh? Yeah, I don't know. Who's Gianni? Is that a friend of yours, Dreadmere?
No idea.
Just some rando? Elizabeth in chat room for $2 says, vote for Pavich. So, yeah, maybe Pavich will be Ratchet and Clank. Weirdly. Anyway, guys, let's get to... Ron, did you have anything else?
No, that's it, man. It's a short one.
That's a good one. And you know what, Ron? You're right, because... I read the study a while back that people who make resolutions...
You just feel... Nobody fucking achieve... Like, maybe 1 out of 10.
86% don't... It was like some super high number, like 86% or something, that don't follow through with them. And in fact, they're even worse off than before, because when they fail this unreasonable expectation... Like, if you want to lose weight... It's a lifestyle change. You can't just do it overnight. Yeah, everyone can lose weight by fasting a week or two, and then you lose a bunch of weight, but then it's going to come right back on.
Resolutions are sustainable.
No.
And I just think more often than not, they make you feel bad about yourselves. And then let's say you are the one person that does do it, and you share that with everybody. Yeah. Everybody's just going to kind of like shit on you because you're reminding them of something that they couldn't do.
Right.
So you're saying 14% of people do succeed in their resolutions, though. If 86 don't.
Yeah, so the majority fail.
So that's 14% more than not having resolutions. I feel like that's a good thing.
But the downside of not fulfilling your resolution is you have the psychological drawbacks, which means you are less likely to achieve other things as well. Because the more in your mind that you have like failed, oh, here's another resolution I failed, I'm a fucking loser, you are less likely to try to keep improving your life. And the problem is, it's not your goal that you set out. It's that you're trying to do it so spontaneously without any planning, or, you have to ease into some of these things.
I kind of see both sides, because on one hand, I feel like you should always be trying to better yourself. You shouldn't just wait until the end of the year and say, oh, I'm going to make this improvement in my life, or I'm going to do this. But at the same time, I feel like the holidays and the new year is a good time to reflect and think, where am I at and how can I make this better if you're in a tough spot, or if there's something you want to achieve.
Right. Yeah, I'm for one side. I'm for the second side that you said. Which is, if you keep failing, then you should reflect. You shouldn't be like, oh, I keep failing, I'm not going to try anymore. You should introspect.
Well,
and don't do it superficially by announcing it to everyone, oh, I'm going to try to save money this year. Just do it.
I don't think you need to share this. It's just like an internal compass thing. It's just a way of reframing your expectations for the year and giving yourself a little bit of direction. Yeah. Especially if you're the type of person who feels like you're in a bit of a status quo right now, and you're in a bit of a rut, and you're just you feel like every day you're like stuck in a loop. Like, I don't know, having a word for the year can kind of point you in that right direction. Take micro little baby steps towards wherever you want to go.
I like that. It's a compass. I like that. All right, guys. Well, speaking of things you should or shouldn't do, Dreadmere, we should get to the voicemail.
Yeah.
Because we have a shit ton here.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
But first, before we get to the ass blasting, someone said, I talked about how the best gifts I think you can receive are either gifts you can eat or experiences. And here's a guy talking about that. Listen to this.
Hey, Maddox, you said that your favorite gifts are things that you can eat, so I hope you got a lot of pussy for Christmas.
Wait.
Yeah.
Rucka endorsed it.
That was a Rucka endorsed one.
I like crap all December. I tweeted this out. I think you retweeted it, or maybe you just...
Yeah.
But I was like, starting December 26th, I'm counting every calorie. And then like my whole family got me a bunch of candy. It got me like 10 pounds of candy for Christmas.
Yeah, fuck you, Kirk.
No,
Good
you're
luck
not.
with that. Here's a voicemail about what I talked about, like how, I give out gifts to friends and like all my sad stories last episode. Listen to this.
Hey, Maddox. This week you argued that people receiving gifts are ungrateful idiots. But then you backed it up with a whole bunch of depressing-ass anecdotes from your own life about your own friends and family. What it sounds like is that all your friends are a bunch of ungrateful idiots. So rather than give up gift-giving completely, this Christmas I think you should give yourself the gift of some better fucking friends. Jesus, Ron, give this guy a hug or something.
I think he's pretty right,
Yeah. Getting there.
Yeah. Is that your New Year's resolution? Better friends?
Better friends. Yeah.
That's 2 words.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Can't do it.
Just friends.
Just friends. I don't make resolutions. It's also one of those things where if I want to resolve to do something, I do it right then and there. Like, hey, I'm gonna. Why are you shrugged, Dreadmere?
Yeah, that's fine. Either
Mister,
way.
You should do things. Oh, you know what? Let's get to the fucking Dreadmere voicemail. I can't wait for this shit.
All right. You're going down.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Here's the first voicemail. It's about Dreadmere's views on homelessness. Listen to this.
Holy shit, man. Where the fuck did you dig up Dreadmere? He has the most fucking retarded arguments I've ever heard. Oh, why do we have to start at this homeless argument? We should try not to be homeless. What the fuck is that kind of dumbass argument? Oh, maybe you should try not being poor. Shut the fuck up, Dreadmere, you fucking retard.
So I'm not sure, but I think he was disagreeing with you. What do you think, Dreadmere?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he agreed with me.
Yeah.
But I agreed with me. All those things that he said that I said, those sound correct. That I stand by still.
So you should just. Do you think anyone chooses, legitimately? Do you think the majority of people choose to be homeless?
I think they've made choices that have led them there.
That's different. You're fucking weaseling out, Dreadmere.
well,
Are
you know-
people choosing? What do you think, Kirk?
Well, poverty is man's default natural state. So yeah, every man should try to improve their lives and try to escape poverty.
Yeah. That's true for now and the future and the past is you choose to not be that way.
At its core, Dreadmere's core is that your situation is the result of your choices.
Yeah, and that's really
That is
good
who
news for most
Dreadmere
people.
is, and that so everything he says comes from that primary
Yeah.
truth.
Some people are, most people are just born into poverty and born into tough lives, but it is their responsibility to escape poverty and make their lives better.
Yeah, but you're ignoring when you that looks great on a bumper sticker, right? Yeah. You're this bootstrap mentality, and I'm on board with that. You should try to work and improve yourself. But there are study after study after study where people who are poor or who came up in poverty have a different psychology and have a different cognitive ability because of their poverty. So people who have, let me explain. If you have parents who are nurturing and compassionate and kind and supportive, they're always encouraging you. Kirk, you can do whatever you want. Dreadmere, you can do whatever you want. You have the capacity. You have the capability. That gives you a healthy psychological outlook on yourself, right? Gives you confidence, gives you self-esteem, boosts your ego, and helps you, achieve. But the opposite is also true if you come from a place of poverty and, bad parenting and people who are neglectful and people who are abusive and destructive in your life. If they say you can't and they're beating you down constantly, it's still possible to have that mentality that wants to strive and achieve in spite of that. But it's much less likely because your psychology has changed.
Yeah, so so first I'll say, as a parent, it is your responsibility to be that way for your child, or to try to develop your child the best way that you can for them to be successful. You should want them to do things on their own. Like, you should be a good parent. That's your responsibility. That being said, you are not your parents. Like, whatever good or bad, you still need to make your own choices. And I don't really subscribe to any kind of psychology restraints. Like, I just don't believe in the fact that you just don't have the ability to choose. You always have the ability to choose, regardless of what happened to you, trauma, stress, whatever, growing up. You have the ability to choose, and you should even have a context of even better of what you don't want, and what you don't want for your kids. So, like, yeah, you can grow up in certain places. I'm not saying bad things don't happen. I feel like a lot of people are saying, like, oh, like bad things just don't happen to people. Yes, they do, but you have a choice to respond to them. You're not beholden to your parents, whatever.
Well, here's speaking of choices, here's another voicemail about Dreadmere and his views on depression. Listen to this.
Yeah, this is for Dreadmere. Here, you stupid fucking poon flap. Regarding your statement that depression doesn't exist, I'm a therapist, I'm a licensed social worker, and I have been for nearly a decade now, and I'm going to tell you that it is. It's self-evident. It's diagnosable. It's a thing. Second of all, your big ammo against it there was, well, concepts like the ego and the superego, those aren't real. No, of course they're not real. They've been debunked for over 100 years now. That's like saying that astronomy is bullshit because of people having a geocentric perception of the stars and shit way back in the day. Mm-hmm. We didn't just abandon all of astronomy. We learned from it. We evolved our thinking about it. And mental health is much the same way. Go rigorously fuck a herd of Nazi whales. See ya. Sherm out.
Sherm out.
Yeah, Dreadmere.
I didn't realize that guy was cool until the very end.
Yeah, he's Sherm, and he's out.
Yeah, so depression's not real. But he said it's stupid. He's saying, like, first of all, yes, those things may have been debunked, but it doesn't matter because they're still being taught, like in psychology classes today, as if it's real, as if you have separate personalities and separate consciousnesses.
I don't think. Have you had a psychology class? Right?
Yeah, I've taken psychology classes.
And they teach you that as if it's like not debunked science.
They teach it to you. They teach it to you without any context of it being. It's there.
Well,
it's there. And
but they also teach you classical mechanics instead of Einsteinian. They teach you Newtonian mechanics instead of Einsteinian mechanics in physics too, because it's still useful to some degree. But they also say, this is no longer accurate on a microcosmic scale. It's a macrocosmic kind of theory that there's still some use to it, and they still teach you the geocentric model. This is something we used to believe, but are they actively saying this is?
It's still I don't remember specifically if that's how it was taught, but I do know that this is how people behave. That they behave as if there's two sides to them, or as if they're constantly battling with contradictions within their own mind, and they think that that's legitimate. I know that's popular.
Do you think, Dreadmere, let me ask you this. Let's say that the answer to depression was written down somewhere in a book, and it was written down in a language.
It's probably a sad book.
It's a very happy book. It's the answer. It's the happiest. It's the solution to depression.
But it's only happy on the last page when they tell you the answer.
It's only one page long. Yeah.
Oh, it's only one page long.
Yeah.
It's more of a pamphlet than a book. Then.
Yeah. It's a pamphlet.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's just all use the
got
same.
That out of the way?
Okay. I think it was important.
Let's say the answer to depression was written down in a book.
Okay.
A pamphlet, and it was written down in a language that you can't read.
Okay.
What do you propose to the person who doesn't know what language it's written in and can't read the language? How do you propose that person find the answer to depression?
Google.
Let's say, Kirk, this is
the pamphlet been translated in other languages?
There are some people who know the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because the people who know the answer and who know this language were born with parents who taught it to them. Mm-hmm. But the person who comes across that answer to depression doesn't even know how to recognize it. What would you say to that?
Well, if the person is looking at a book to find the answer for depression, it sounds like they're at a really good point where they realize they have a problem that they're trying to fix, which is where you need to start.
Well, what if they don't even know what they're looking? I mean, they don't know what they're looking at.
But they know that they're
unhappy
unhappy and that they can do something about it. Finding the specific answer. Look, first of all, like a lot of people are saying this as if I'm saying it like really easily. Like, oh, just be happy. But this is literally the point of being alive. This is more, it would be like if somebody said, how do I be a doctor? And I would say, well, you have to go to college. That's a very simple answer, but the process is very difficult. It takes a lot. I don't even know what goes into that. So same thing with this, but we're talking about bigger than just a career. We're talking about your entire happiness, your love life, your friendships, your everything. The time, your hobbies, all of that. I'm talking about happiness, encompassing all of those things, and that comes from a choice. It starts from you making a choice. Now that again, that sounds simple, but that's where you start, and that's what I'm saying.
But do you think that the choice? I mean, it's almost like saying, "Hey, what did you decide to do when you grew up?" Right? And people are like, "I chose to be whatever I am,"
mm-hmm.
and it's almost like, yeah, you did, but only within the constraints and restraints of what you knew.
Right.
So, for example, I don't think a single person in this room has ever considered going into modeling fish hatcheries as a career, because most of us never considered that as an option.
Yeah.
So, for some of these solutions and these choices to be plausible, you have to have a very base level of education to have that, don't you?
Well, no. Okay, so this is like, what you're kind of talking about is like, okay, so your influences as you grow up are kind of what decide what choices you have. So therefore, you're so. Yes,
I think you just ceded my point.
No,
Dreadmere. I think I just won this debate.
No, I'm framing it. It's wrong. I'm framing it. It's wrong.
I win.
No, so. First of all, your context is not based on omniscience. It's not based on knowing everything and being able to do everything. It's based on your context. And if your context is influenced by maybe a fireman, you grew up with a fireman as an uncle, you watch fireman things on TV, you might want to do that because those are your influences. But what free will comes from is the ability to focus. So there are a ton of influences constantly hitting you through your subconscious your entire life. But free will, your ability to focus on certain things, is your choice.
So let's say you're born into poverty. You have to work 2 jobs, and you're working 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you don't have the ability to focus. So you don't have free will.
But you
still have free will.
Well, but not with that definition. We're using your definition, which is the ability to focus.
Right.
If you have so many distractions, if you have violence in your life, if you have war in your life, if you have poverty, if you have famine, if you can't even put a roof over your head, you don't have that luxury of focus.
It's not a luxury. It's how we live. It's how human beings are alive. You don't operate subconsciously for your entire life. That's impossible.
I think what Dreadmere is saying at its core is that no matter what situation you're placed in, however unfair, you still have a choice that you can make. And so he's saying, even if you're, there's a war happening, you still have his thing is that you still have an internal compass. You still have an active choice that you can make as a person to do something, even in an environment that is quote unquote like unfair. Mm-hmm. So that kind of like at your core, you are the decider of your fate.
Yeah.
That's where everything comes from.
Well, if you're in a war, I mean, that's contextual. If people are trying to blow up your house, then I'm not going to say, oh, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No, I'd feel sympathy for that
I would
person.
say pull yourself up by your bootstraps and run.
Yeah, I mean, that's a choice. But I'm saying, and I'm not saying there's no reason. There are situations where if you tried to continue living, you would mostly experience misery. Like if you were born into a war and you couldn't get away, you couldn't run away, or you were in a POW camp. It's like, oh, just pull yourself up. No, there are contexts where you know that you're not going to be able to experience happiness again. It is a legitimate thing to contemplate suicide or to contemplate something. There are definitely contextual instances where suicide is legitimate. There are contextual instances where where you can't get out of them. But what I'm saying is, for the most part, as without people infringing on that, you have every right to do what you want and make a choice to make your life better.
Okay, I think we agree. I think that there are degrees to that contextualization, like POWs, POW prison camps, that sort of thing, are kind of an extreme example.
Yeah.
I think that in that same vein of context, if somebody is born into poverty, they have less opportunity, less resources, and less free will, less choices, because they're, first, A, not exposed to those choices, and B, they don't even have enough time to have that focus, to have that free will, to think about what they'd want to do, or to even know that there are options. Like a poor kid in India is not going to have the same choices as a poor kid in America. A poor kid in America knows that he or she could grow up to be a police officer or a computer technician or a firefighter or whatever. But in India, if your choices are completely contextualized there.
Well, it's always that, but you don't base your context in relation to other people. Like as an Indian kid, you don't say, "Oh, well, this guy has more choices. What am I? I can't do that." You say, "What can I do in my situation?"
Right.
You start with yourself.
Right.
So, and yeah, they may have left. I don't expect them to create Facebook or whatever, but I made my first commentary video was about Kylie Jenner and how she made $1 billion and people were saying, oh, she doesn't deserve it. Right. She did. In her context, she made a successful company. Now, for that same vein of argument, it's like saying that any of us born in America haven't made any wealth because someone in India, we started way ahead of them. It's like, no, in our context, we do the best that we can and we are responsible for it.
No, I got a correction. People weren't saying she didn't deserve it. People said that she was not self-made. And I actually agreed with you on that. I made a video about that myself.
Saw it. Yeah.
And you're saying that you agreed that she's not self-made.
Oh, I think she is self-made.
Yeah, we both said that she was.
Yeah, well, I guess, none of us are, I think, because unless you're born and somebody gives you something, you have nothing.
No,
right?
But that's what I'm saying. That is your context. She started in a position where maybe she could do this, but she chose to take advantage of it and therefore grow her wealth. There's been plenty of people who don't take advantage of it and lose their wealth. It's up to them.
She has 6 siblings who have the same advantages as she did, and they're not billionaires.
I wouldn't call her self-made, but I would say that the wealth that she made since, she deserves some credit for. She did something right.
I think she deserves all the credit. Yeah.
Okay. I agree with me.
Play another voicemail. Light him up.
Well, this one actually agrees with Dreadmere's points of view. Listen to this.
God damn it, I hate to side with Dreadmere because he's such a fucking dolt, but he's got a point, kind of. I was diagnosed with depression when I was in high school and now approaching 40. Anyhow, he's right. You do kind of choose whether you're going to be depressed or not. I can sit around and listen to Typo Negative and the Birthday Massacre and feel depressed, or I can, take my Zoloft, I can work out, I can eat better, I can listen to Dragon Force or Pantera, and I can feel better about myself. Those are decisions that I make that affect my depression. It is, not to generalize, and if you are suffering from depression, all you need to do is deal with it head on, and it will go away.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, Find out what's making you depressed, fucking get rid of it, and move on with your goddamn life.
Wow.
By the way, Maddox, you're a douchebag because fuck you. I don't know.
Yeah, see, this guy makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you know what this guy makes?
Oh. And then put him right back into depression.
Douchebag of the week. And I'll tell you what. Look, you're depressed. Why don't you just figure out what's making you depressed? Because the things that people think make you depressed is like not having enough money, not having enough like chicks or dating prospects in your life.
Yeah, lack of pussy, bro.
Yeah. The things that make you depressed aren't the things that make you depressed. Anthony Bourdain, he had everything fucking made. He had the life, he had the job that people work so hard at their jobs to have as a vacation. People's vacations were his day-to-day job.
Yeah.
He would travel, eat the best food. He was well-loved and admired by millions of people. He was dating hot chicks left and right, still killed himself.
What about Robin Williams?
Same thing.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain had no problems in his life.
Yeah, young, attractive, rich musician. And here is why they could still be depressed. Because it's not based on money or women or all this kind of stuff that makes you happy. Those are things that a lot of us want, and I think all of us want, but just because you have them doesn't mean that you're happy. You need to reevaluate what your values are and why they're good in the first place. If someone like Robin Williams feels guilty for having the money that he does, or feels like he should be doing, like he's not as noble as a doctor or something else, he is still going to feel depressed despite achieving his goals because he didn't know that those values were good in the first place.
Have you ever... Have you ever been depressed?
Yeah. I mean, I've been sad. I wouldn't say I've been.
No. I'm talking like serious like clinical depression where you can't get out of the house, can't get out of the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been like very upset. I don't know about clinical depression, like saying like a chemical imbalance. Like I don't know about that.
Here's the reality. Okay, we're instead of this like Looney Tunes, kind of like broad brush painting of depression. Depression has lots of causes and lots of different reasons, and some depression is easier to tackle than others. There's clinical depression. There's depression that you can't kick with drugs. I've had really close friends who I've lost to depression.
There's the Great Depression.
There's the
lack of pussy depression.
There's that. There's the depression that your butt leaves on a chair sometimes. But the type of depression.
It's more of an impression, but okay.
That's true. Oh, that's true. It's an impression. Never mind. You know what, Ron?
Yay.
There you go. Yeah, you get to put
every one of those I get adds 15 minutes to my life.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that.
Hey. Anyway, guys, I think the depression is a little bit more complicated than what we're making out to be. But we have a couple super chats.
Hey, by the way, I heard a rumor Anthony Bourdain actually didn't commit suicide. I was at a party once and I heard that he was actually killed by the Armenian mafia. They made it look like suicide because he said some shit. Ooh. He said some shit. And apparently, that's what I heard, guys.
I've heard that too.
That's what I heard.
I heard that, but I've also heard, what's that Gere? Richard Gere put a hamster up his ass. One of those. That's like
exactly what an Armenian mafia guy would say to cover up.
He gave the Verizon store at the Galleria a 3-star on Yelp.
Yeah, and then they were like,
"My name Armenian mafia."
You're gonna pay for that,
bro. We got a couple super chats. Poppage Babin for $5 says things Dreadmere and Scientologists agree about. Psychology is bullshit. Well, you guys have that. Yeah. And then Gianni Rotolo, the guy who was your fan, Dreadmere, he says, I don't know why so many people watch Dreadmere. All he does is jerk off Ayn Rand, objectivism, take a big dump on his argument, Maddox, 3 exclamation marks. Well, speaking of, here's the next voicemail. Listen to this.
Hey, Lord Maddox. Grumpy Guatemalan calling all the way from Guatemala here. About the previous episode, The Shittiest City, can we stop inviting edgy, objectivist Ayn Rand fan guests on the podcast? It's obnoxious to hear someone who tries to describe political ideology in the sense that, I got mine, fuck everyone else.
I've seen that.
And has no pragmatic value in the real world other than in principle. It's like hearing Rucka all over again. Anyway, love the show. I'm kind of torn between San Francisco and New York. They're both kind of shitty. New York being kind of the root cause of my brother's suicide and drug addiction, and San Francisco just being a stuck-up piece of shit place. Anyway, keep up the great work. Fucking Nazi. Later.
Hey, fucking Nazi to you, too.
Who's
got real
Ayn
dark
Rand?
at the end. What's that?
Who's Ayn Rand?
Is that?
Yeah, that's not. So I've never said Ayn Rand or objectivism. on this show, like as myself. Like I've never said them or anything.
Well, it doesn't
You don't
matter.
have to.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, if you espouse the ideology, like people
I mean,
understand.
but that's exact. So that guy, what he's describing is exactly the problem. The fact that they see a difference between principles and reality, like saying like, oh yeah, that all works in principle, but we need to get back to the real world. Like I'm saying, you start with philosophy and then apply it to the real world. I'm saying this matters more than people think. They think it's just like nonsense.
I think principles are important, and I think that more people should have them and uphold them. I think that I think that there is some overlap between my worldview and I guess objectivism in that regards. I have a lot of objectivist friends. I think because of
you have good taste.
Yeah, good taste.
You have a lot of principals.
They're my principals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're my principals. They're a lot of fun. Like. I don't know. I think it's an interesting philosophy, and I keep meeting these people, even outside of the circle of
when you say friends, all I see you and your friends do is just argue loudly over Korean barbecue.
Yeah, that's
like
what I do.
all of your friendships
Yeah.
are in that. I see a Korean lunch table, and you going, no, you're a fucking idiot.
That's what it is.
That's
And they're like, can we have some more bulgogi?
But they are like the most fun conversations I had because like
It's
Dreadmere,
more
we've done
than
this.
Rucka just busting my balls for not knowing how to cook at the table.
Yeah, well, that too.
It's you know what it is it does take conversations into a much deeper place than most conversations
Yes.
go. Most conversations exist around why this Marvel movie was great or this one wasn't.
Yeah.
Where this is, you guys are getting into some super heady shit, and it's
Yeah.
always kind of fun because it forces you to really get to the core of who you are.
And they always become really deeply philosophical conversations, which is satisfying and entertaining to me because they're so rare, especially with people. The casual conversations you have at parties usually don't delve into philosophy.
People at parties don't like talking about this shit.
No.
This shit is not a fun party.
Yeah, but I think that's wise because like that guy's kind of saying you separate it and then you get back to the real world. And you don't think about philosophy, but everybody has a philosophy. If you're not aware of, most people aren't aware of it, but as far as like making decisions every day, it comes from either being uncomfortable for a minute so that you can achieve pleasure later, or just achieving pleasure now, or like all of this comes from some philosophical basis, and
You're
whether
right,
or not
yeah.
you pay attention to it, most people don't. But I'm saying you should. I'm saying you
That's right.
definitely
I agree with that. Here's another voicemail. We got just a few last ones. This one's about presents, and I agree with this philosophy. I've been speaking of philosophies. We talked about this a while ago, and I hate this idea of surprises. But listen to this.
Just calling back to say how much I agree with your idea that people who expect surprise presents are all idiots, especially if it's for Christmas and birthdays. You know you're going to be getting presents those days, so why does it need to be a surprise? Surprise presents are for when you get a present for absolutely no reason at all. That's a surprise gift. All right, that's all.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's this element of surprise, like, adults are fucking playing a giant game of peekaboo with each other. Like, who cares? Like, and then, like, spoilers are the same way. It's like, oh, no, I'm not surprised by this plot point. Well, dipshit, if you've ever watched a movie twice and you still enjoyed it the second time, spoilers don't matter.
I mean, you can fuck off on that one. Yeah, you can just go suck all the dicks in the world.
I don't think I've ever seen Ron switch from your side to not.
Yeah, I just totally disagree with you.
Okay, well, I'm going to write an article about spoilers.
I still want to
soon.
experience the story like you got to experience it, which was without spoilers.
There's only
hate spoilers.
There's only one movie I can think of where I would have enjoyed less probably if I knew the spoiler, which is the.
Did they also see Dead People?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
yes,
I've never seen it actually. You know
really?
why?
Why?
Because so many people fucking spoiled it for me.
Yeah, still watch it. You'll enjoy it. I'm curious, Ron. As a movie that's been spoiled for you, I'm curious what you think of that movie now. If you watch it now,
I mean, I'll watch it and I'll let you know. I mean, at this point, it's one of those movies where it's like I was talking before, like how sometimes things get so popular you don't even watch them because it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But I feel like I should watch The Sixth Sense because it is now part of our cultural vernacular. Like it is, but only in so much as someone going, I see dead people, and it's like I get the joke. I've seen the joke so many times on different late night shows. So
It is tired.
I should probably watch it at this point though because it is kind of like a classic, and I do like watching the classics.
Well, let me know what you think if you do. And here's one last voicemail.
I can't let you know what I think because apparently I read this article from a guy who says I can't have opinions about movies.
That's not what I said.
No,
I said
I can't let you know.
All right. That's not what I said. All right. Here's a voicemail about stories about my dad.
Hello, longtime fan of the show. Could you please tell more stories about your father? I love the one where he was burning tires, and I love the one where he's playing mercy and calling people a pussy. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a shit ton of dad stories.
I do like your dad stories.
Yeah. Oh man,
was that your dad?
It sounded like my dad.
That was
yeah.
a dad for sure.
That was a dad for sure. Oh man, so many dad stories. I'll just say that here's like a quick summary of like my dad in the last 12, 15 years. First of all, my dad's 90 years old.
Holy shit.
Yeah. He's old as shit, and he's a badass. I'm sure he could still kick my ass at this age. The guy's a powerhouse.
Does he just like work out all the time, or is he just super active?
The guy's hands are like made out of lumber. His hand, like he welds. He welds. He builds cages. He builds. He rebuilds cars. He bought 2 cars.
None of this trickled down to you, huh?
You fucking well, that's the thing. My dad would come up to me and he would take my hand. My hands, I got like typist's hands, right? Because I work with computers all the time.
Pussy hand.
You look like you work in a moisturizing factory.
Yeah, fuck you, right? It's not that bad. My hands are pretty dry. That's kind of cool. But my dad would come grab my hands and he'd hold them in his, and they just look like, so compared to his is just like sausages, and my fingers are kind of, I'd say they're tone. That's the word I would use. They're tone fingers. I think one of my middle finger kind of
You have
curves.
the hands of a blogger.
Did you just get a manicure?
No, I didn't get it. Fuck you guys. I'm tired of this shit.
It's like cotton.
It's not.
Yeah.
Would you say like cotton?
Yeah, like
yeah,
clouds.
You're like cotton.
Now, for those listening, he's wearing pink nail polish.
I'm not wearing pink. That's a lie. I'm going to edit this from the episode. But my dad would hold my hands and then look down at them and then look up at me and goes, "Pussy."
Like, yep, that's where these hands have been.
Yeah, Dad. How about that?
When was that? Like last week or last night?
No, my dad also never used bandages ever. Like, he never uses bandages. He just uses masking tape. And
Jesus H.
Yeah, he'll use a masking tape with a stick or something if he feels like his finger might be broken, which many times may have been. And his nails. I've never seen nails like this. Imagine it's almost like Chinese bamboo. In your food, whatever, and it gets kind of you get those little
long
strings,
slivers.
those long slivers. Yeah, his nails kind of look like that. Like, you can see the fibers because they're so
do you
thick.
feel like the nerves have grown into him where now he can't even cut them?
Yeah. For sure, he has to file that shit. I don't think the mouth of a fingernail clipper is thick enough to cut his nails.
He probably has to use the same thing you use on your dog. One of those motorized things that you hold down and spins and you put your nail
like
into
a little
it?
grinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad uses, most of the medicine my dad uses is Corona. Now, if you don't know what this is, go to Amazon right now and look up Corona. It's horse hoof medication. It's basically like a salve, like an ointment that you put to cure horses of gashes and wounds.
And he shouldn't change a goddamn thing.
No.
I mean, it's taken him this far. If he does anything to change now,
Yeah. He used to put it on me when I was a kid. The stuff actually works. It's made.
that explains why you're so hairy.
Except my head.
Yeah, that long tail coming off your butt cheek.
Yeah. The stuff is made for healing horses from gashes and wounds, and it works because it's very powerful stuff. It works on humans too. It's very strong smell. It smells like Vicks to the power of 2. It's insane. Corona's the name of it. You can get it at Kmart. Stinks to high heaven, but one time I fell while I was riding my bike, and I slid 10 feet on my thigh. And I got up, and my whole thigh was raw, like hamburger. Went home. My dad just plastered it with Corona, and then it just stunk for a day or two. But I healed pretty quick. It was a week and a half later. I was fine. Yeah.
Does it come in a giant toothpaste tube or a little jar?
It looks like a margarine container.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So you just peel back and just rub it on like a huge stick?
No, you need a butter knife for it. It looks like margarine.
Wow.
Yeah, and and the color of it too is kind of golden, kind of like margarine. Anyway, I'm grossing myself out. We should get to some quick news headlines. We got a couple of quick ones, and we got to wrap this up. Half of people who think they have food allergies do not, according to a new study. This is according to The Guardian. The number of adults who think they have a food allergy is almost double the figure who actually have one, research has revealed. The researchers found that many people with an allergy do not have a prescription for potentially life-saving medication, while others might be avoiding foods unnecessarily. This is half my fucking friends.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. It's not... They think they have a full food allergy. They don't, but it's Roundup. That's what they're allergic to. It's the Roundup they're being put on the wheat and being grown in this country.
The stuff
Yeah,
Monsanto. What
it's
is
the people.
Roundup?
It's a weed killer.
Weed killer. Are
So
you sure
that's
about that?
yes, that is the fucking thing, man. It's always Roundup, and people think it's them. It's because they go to France. They have a croissant in France. They don't have a reaction because they're not. You can't use Roundup in France. You can't use Monsanto or whatever. And then over here in this country, they have it all the time. It's because of what we're spraying on in the fields. That's what people are having a reaction to.
I've heard that though. That sounds kind of conspiratorial.
I'm telling you, man, it's true. It's my other prediction for the year.
Sounds like you've been reading too much Free Thought Project.
Yeah, Free Thought Project, Ron.
Can't anymore. Got deleted by Facebook.
Yeah.
Fucking Facebook.
Well, it says the
TikTok for life.
Fucking TikTok is so cringy. It says here then the team assessed whether the reported allergy, whether they were diagnosed or not, was convincing. For example, if the participant had experienced symptoms such as throat tightening or vomiting, that's the sign of an actual allergy. The results revealed that the most common convincing allergy was to shellfish, which is a real one. So when people tell me they have allergies to foods, I always like to test them, except when it comes to peanuts or shellfish or what's the other one that people are actually allergic to? Like, those are real ones. But it says here the shellfish allergy, which my dad is allergic to shellfish. I didn't know this, but it affects 2.9% of adults, with milk and peanuts in second and third place, affecting 1.9 and 1.8% of adults, respectively. Guys, that makes sense, because if the entire fucking human population, 40% was allergic to gluten or whatever crazy number they think it is, we would all be dead. Most people aren't allergic to most things because we'd be dead. But while 10.8% of participants were deemed to have at least one convincing food allergy, almost twice as many, 19%, reported that they had such a problem. Of those with a convincing allergy, almost half said that they had developed at least one of their food allergies as an adult, while about 38% that said that they had undertaken an emergency hospital visit as a result of that allergy. However, only 48% said that they had received a diagnosis from a doctor, and just a quarter had said that they had a prescription for adrenaline, which is a common allergy treatment. So, in conclusion, sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Well, we have a history of demonizing certain foods, and it's gluten's turn.
Yeah.
Because I had a friend who was like, gluten is I'm going to cut back on my gluten just to be healthier. And I'm like, gluten's not bad for you, man. Gluten is fine for you.
Yeah.
It is not bad for you.
Yeah.
But we do that traditionally. Back in the 1890s or something, we used to fucking think protein was bad for you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Protein was considered the all the ills of society were because of protein.
Yeah. Yeah, protein, and then there was the other one too. I think butter was demonized for a long time.
Fat for a long time,
yeah, fat
and now now it's we realize, okay, well, we took out the fat and then replaced it with sugar. I mean, it's just there's always something that we demonize, and I can't wait to see what the next one's going to be.
Yeah,
what's going to take gluten's place?
Yeah, it's. I think it's starting to.
We do the opposite too, where we feel like there's one thing that's so good for you. Remember, pomegranate juice was the wonder cure.
Coconut oil.
It is all fucking bullshit. You know what it is? It's a balanced diet. That's what's good for you, not just one thing, not coconut fat that you put in or coconut oil.
Coconut
and then people are like, it's the best thing, and put it in my coffee. It's no, it's full of a ton of fat. There's no wonder cure-all fix, and anyone who's trying to sell that to you is just trying to make money.
Yeah, any kind of superfood like hemp seeds, chia seeds, whatever the fucking
They're fine. They're good for you, but it's
stuff.
it's a balanced diet.
Yeah.
That's what's good for you.
That's why we have the canine teeth and we have molars, because we're omnivorous. We're supposed to eat a variety of foods. Anyway,
we should be in charge of everything.
Yeah, we're smart as shit.
That's right.
We've got another story here. A man sued Burger King for free burgers for life.
Did he win?
Well, maybe. I think he may have, because here's what actually
Did he claim
happened.
that he was the real Burger King, and that's why?
No. Actually, this guy was trapped in the bathroom.
Oh, for how long?
Like an hour or so.
Then he should receive free burgers forever. How long he was trapped in the bathroom?
For 1 hour?
Yeah.
Probably because he was eating Burger King.
Yeah. Well,
so he got locked in there?
He got locked in the bathroom. Yeah, listen to this. An Oregon man who got trapped inside a restroom at a Portland area Burger King is suing, claiming he wants a free Whopper meal every week for the rest of his life. Curtis Bruner, 50, filed a suit Tuesday in the Multnomah County Circuit Court in the amount of $9,026, or the amount a Whopper meal per week for the next 22 years would cost. And wait till I get to the calculation part of this. This is pretty hilarious. Bruner got trapped inside the confined single-use locked restroom at, I won't read the address, for more than an hour. Bruner said that he banged on the door for help and that he could hear what sounded like employees laughing on the other side of the door while a locksmith tried to open the door and free him. The most infuriating part, Bruner said, was the smell of the restroom. Yeah, that would be the most infuriating.
Well, that's kind of his own thing to blame. He contributed to that.
He contributed to it, but only I would say only like 10%.
Yeah, okay.
Like most people, right? You know, Bruner had seemingly already worked out a deal inside the store before he left. The on-site manager told Bruner he could have free burgers for the rest of his life as an apology. So
so they offered it to him?
They offered it to him.
All right.
So over the next 13 days, Bruner ate there every day, sometimes twice a day, until the district manager suddenly ended it, prompting the lawsuit. So they did give it to him.
Well, but did they give it to him in writing? Or was it a handshake deal?
Sounds like it was a handshake deal.
Well,
maybe they didn't think he was going to live longer than 13 days.
Oh, we're getting to that.
Also, if he's like, he's not going to live that long if he's eating Burger King twice a day.
Yeah, so we're getting to that. It says Michael Fuller, his lawyer, said that his client wants either the original meal deal reinstated or have the burger chain pay Bruner the cost of one Whopper meal a week for life. Fuller's calculation was simple. He took the life expectancy of a man, which is 77, and then subtracted 5 years because of what a weekly burger could possibly do to a man in his 70s. With a life expectancy set to 72, the total comes to one Whopper meal valued at $7.89 per week over 22 years. So it comes to $9,026.
So he's talking Whopper meal, meaning fries and drink.
Sounds like it. Yeah. $7.89 to shut this guy up.
I don't know why that guy ever offered that.
The burger.
Be like, I'm not going to come back here. Don't you get to a point as a manager? I used to work for a manager where a customer once complained to her, like, I'm not going to come in here. She just went, good. Like, why would I want you coming in here, wasting my time, yelling at my employees and causing a scene?
Yeah.
Go anywhere else. I don't care. And I was like, why don't more managers do that?
I had a friend in Utah who would go to buffets. This guy could fucking eat. And we'd take him to pizza. Well, no, Godfather Pizza was this place. They had like all-you-can-eat pizza. Between the four of us, we would put down easily like 6-7 pizzas. It was so many pizzas. We were such fat kids. And then this guy, but it was mostly this dude. We went to an all-you-can-eat burger place, and he's the guy who ended the program. He went there.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's like all-you-can-eat burgers from like 5 to 7, like during the happy hour area, whatever. And they're shitty burgers. They're just like, burger patty, a sprinkle of onions, and that's it. And he would just eat and eat.
How many are we talking?
He put down, I think one time, like 24 burgers.
Oh my god,
that's a lot of burgers.
And the manager came out and he said, "You can't eat any more burgers." And he goes, "But I'm still hungry." He goes, "You've had enough." And he goes, "But I paid for all you could eat." He goes, "You've had enough." He goes, "Well, I want to talk to the manager." He goes, "I am the manager. We don't want to serve you any more burgers."
But that, I mean, he has a point. He's like, well, listen, don't write a check with your mouth that you can't cash. Is it all you can eat, or is it all you can eat?
Yeah, well, they ended the program shortly after, and I think due to my friend.
Not all you can eat anymore.
But that guy, he didn't win. Your friend,
the burger guy.
No, he doesn't. You don't win when you eat 24 fucking burgers.
No, you lose.
Like there's a cost that is to be paid.
Yeah. You pay that cost with your ass.
Yeah.
With your asshole directly. Anyway, guys, that's it for this show. Kirk, where can people find you?
Find me at YouTube /Kirk Wilcox, Twitter /Kirk Wilcox, Instagram /Kirkomania, and KirkWilcox.com.
Yeah, you guys thought about consistency, huh, Ron? Is that your word of the year?
That's my word of the year.
Yeah, not with Kirk and I, because I screwed up like that too. I didn't have the same handle that I wanted on all the social media platforms.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Dreadmere, how about you?
You can find me on everything at Dreadmere on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you'd like to argue with me more, you can do so on YouTube and Twitter, because that's where I put up all these same great ideas for people to hear.
Go call him a retard on YouTube.
Yeah.
And super fun videos, Dreadmere. I can't wait to see your new lot of videos, because we were talking about this before the show started. Dreadmere's really come into his own voice, I feel. Like, your videos are really kicking ass.
Oh,
and I feel like this next year they'll really hit their stride. Because and not to say that they haven't already, they're good, but I think that you can definitely see a progression in the work. So check out Dreadmere's videos. They're great stuff. And Ron?
You can find me, Hey Ron, on Instagram, and Ron Babcock on Twitter. And, you can listen to my album, This Guy, for free on Spotify right now.
Oh, it's fantastic. Super fun album. Anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. Tune in next week. We'll be having another debate. Thank you, Kirk Wilcox. Thank you, Dreadmere.
Thank you.
And thank you to my Rear Admiral of Tangents, Ron Babcock.
Happy New Year, everyone.
But most of all, you're welcome.
Hey, Maddox, you better make sure to do a compilation of all the Babcock tips, because, I don't know, they sound pretty good. and I don't want to go through all the bullshit of, going through all this shit. Thank you.
Go through all the bullshit of listening to the entire show.
Yeah. I'm bailing on this phone call.
Hey there. Don't forget to subscribe to Madcast shows on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Okay, bye. Madcast Media Network.